Hey guys, we
Hey,
have a really great video for you guys today. Welcome back to the channel again. Um, if you guys remember Aaron is actually my good friend who I did an interview with a couple of months ago about
that's right.
travel and a possible trip to Thailand. This dude, he has flown across the world to another country, a great accomplishment, and has actually completed his trip. And yeah, we're just gonna like do a little before and after conversation. He's gonna tell us some crazy stories, some stories I haven't
Mm.
even heard yet, and I'm excited to listen to. So yeah, let's just get right into it. You want to give a little introduction for yourself?
Yeah, this window is just giving me a dramatic entrance. So, my name's Aaron. I spent 24 days, I think, total in Thailand. Flew there like between September, October, so not too hot. They said it was pretty good weather, apparently rainy season, but whatever, it's fine. And so I've just come back, landed, been flat out, and had a phenomenal experience. I guess what else is there to introduce? I'm Australian, born and raised Campbelltown, Sydney, 22 years old, and this is my first time overseas without parents or even mates. I just decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Just going to go solo, take the initiative, and get out there. So that's what's been happening.
Yeah, solid. So give us like a brief rundown now that you've given the rundown for your trip. What was your life kind of like before the trip, and what made you want to travel in the first place?
So I think Talon can agree that I was pretty sheltered. I don't even engage in pop culture that much. So coming out to this whole Thailand thing, I was just doing pretty basic 9 to 5 delivery driver work. I want a career in art, but it's a bit tough in Sydney at the moment for me. So I figured while that's art career was on hold, I'm gonna start developing all of these other sections that I haven't really gotten around to yet. Things like traveling, family, relationships, health, all that stuff. So I'm sitting in Hendrix, which is a bar that I was working at, and I'm like, man, traveling's really expensive, isn't it? And then Talon comes over and he's like, nah, go to Thailand, go to Asia. What are you talking about? It's cheap. I'm like, really? Look up flight prices, 260 AUD just to get there one way. I go, fuck, that's not bad, eh? So I figure, all right, why not take a risk for once, learn something new, um, and I'll book the flight. I'll book it like 10 minutes from that conversation. And so for me, being little Sydney sider, not really knowing anything else, I've been to a few other countries, but it doesn't really count for me. There was nothing like this, getting dragged around by your parents, doing this, doing that, touristy stuff. So this was really mind blowing, I'd say. So that's where my life was. And I guess we can start talking about the journey there, right?
Yeah, for sure. So to prepare for the journey, you invested in yourself and you got Escape Your Hometown.
Mm-hmm.
I can explain Escape Your Hometown because me and Sean
You'd be a
created
lot
it,
better at
but
it than I would. Yeah, go for it.
I love no, but what I was actually going to ask is, can you explain it to the people from your understanding since you got so much out of it?
Right. Okay, what Escape Your Hometown is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if I could describe it as best as possible, Escape Your Hometown is your ticket to, you know, refreshing your experiences on life and giving you the adventure that you never knew existed. So Escape Your
Mhm.
Hometown essentially helped me get out of the place that I was currently in. I didn't even know how secluded or uncultured I was until I got assistance from Talon. He gave us some recommendations. There's a lot of uncertainty. They basically just answer a bunch of questions that you have, all of these pondering things and just removes a lot of uncertainty. So I said, hey, where do I go? He said, boom, Thailand. I said, hey, what do I take? He said, boom, this backpack from Osprey. Fucking, I love this thing, by the way. This backpack, I took it with me all over Thailand. It's all I had, this and a sling bag. That's all I took with me,
Yeah,
7 kilos to carry on. And I went around like the entire country.
yeah, that's
Phenomenal.
insane.
So
So,
Escape Your Hometown is also just like a little community. You can always ask, like, hey, I need help with this. There's some guys there, great. They'll help you with whatever. They got ideas, 20 suggestions for one solution, you know. It's just good, isn't it? New experiences. Honestly, that's how you learn. The hardest part is starting, right? That's kind of what I'm learning. As soon as you start, everything else gets easier. Everything else gets easier.
Yeah.
Just start, make a decision, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfect. You probably explained it just since you joined the community from outside, you didn't know what it was before. I couldn't ask for
Yeah.
any better explanation. Like, and I completely agree. Starting is the hardest part. That's why, like, the mission that Sean and I have is to get people to take the leap, because that's the most difficult, the most important part. Everything after that's a breeze. And,
Mhm.
you know, if you just get over that initial fear, then it's cruising from there.
Exactly.
So, getting into that, I know that some of the biggest things you've experienced was just the culture shock being there and the different type of lifestyle. So you just want to talk about that. How was it actually landing in Thailand in Asia by yourself where you knew nobody?
So I didn't actually go to Thailand first. I went to Singapore because I had a layover flight. So hey, landing in Singapore, basically just the airport I was kind of restricted to. I had about 18 hours. I was eating a lot of fast food. It was pretty disgusting. I slept at the airport actually. I slept. I was so fucking scared, bro. I slept with my sling bag like underneath my shirt, like this, hugging my backpack at an airport couch. Now, did I need to be that excessive? Probably not. But Singapore, I walk out, I take it a deep breath. It smells like fossil fuels, farts, and a bit of rubbish, but it's different, right? You know, like it's completely new. Uh, but even then, that wasn't anything like coming into Thailand. You land in Thailand, there's no English. Well, there is English, but like some of it's half English. There's a new language. You have never fucking seen that language before. It's like, what? I walk up, I say, hey, do you know where water is? And like, you know, he look, his English was good enough, so he helped me. But just the society that you've been placed in is not what you're used to. So what do? I land in the airport, new currency. All of a sudden, I'm dealing in 100 and 200 baht, which you know, that's not Australian numbers. 100 Australian, well, that's pretty good. 100 baht, that's like $5. So hopping on the bus, you're giving out, man, even the buses. You sit down on the bus, some guy comes to you, it's like, hey, where are you going? I say in broken Thai, what Prakan or something, and then he's like, all right, that's gonna be 40 baht for your trip, and they just give you a ticket and they do it all manually. Even
Hmm.
that is just so different, man. But if I had to summarize, actually, you know what? I'll start with this. I didn't even
Hmm.
feel homesick. Culture
Really?
shock, like yes, yeah. So, I mean, would you say culture shock is a negative connotation?
No, no. Like, culture shock shows that you're learning. Honestly, to me,
Yeah,
that's what I love. Like, even yesterday, I've been here in Australia, I think, what, just over 10 months now? Or no, we're approaching 10 months.
yeah.
And I sneeze, and everyone I'm working with, they're all quiet. They pretend like it doesn't happen. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, okay, that's kind of odd being American. Because in America, we usually say, like, somebody says bless you after, even
Yeah,
though,
with a
like,
bunch of
we're
bus
not
use.
super
Yeah,
religious, it's just polite. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
I Google it online, and it's just like, yeah, like England and Australia, like they find that as very religious. So like people who aren't religious don't say it. And I'm just like, whoa, that was like a mini culture shock right there. And even now I'm still learning, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So if we had to go by that definition, yes, okay, a lot of culture shock. Not a
Hmm.
lot of homesickness, to be honest. When I came to Thailand, I said to myself, I do not want to be the same person that I was in Australia, and I do not want to be the same person when I get back. So I was just soaking it all in. I was loving it. Everything from learning how they live, how they speak. Thai is a very feminine culture, surprisingly. That's what I learned.
Mm.
Like, I can go into that more if you'd like, but just the whole environment of being in a situation where things aren't what you're used to, you know, people behave differently. Thai culture, from my experience, was very relaxed. They have a saying sabai sabai, which is like it's fine, you know, they take things at their own pace. It seems like time is just a little bit slower. When they have business, they come out, they set up their stall, and they place things out one by one. You know, they don't optimize it, they don't speed up the process, and then when they close down for the night, they take it all back one by one.
Mhm.
Even one night, I was trying to help this guy pack up his store because I wanted to hang out with his daughter. And I'm like rushing it along. I'm trying to pick up 2 boxes at once to help him. And he's like, oh, yeah, like, it's all right. Just like, so I put it back down and I just watch him slowly take 1 box at a time. You know, it's just different, right? And that really
Yeah.
opens your mind to what's actually possible. That and the traveler's lifestyle, that's also what I experienced. I had no idea that these particular things were one, achievable, two, possible, three, livable, right? So now I come back to Australia and I'm like, man, what else can I make? You know, survive. What can I change? Now that's been a bit more difficult, but yeah, certainly that whole experience of just learning something different. Don't go to the touristy places, please. I was recommended plenty of times not to go to Phuket, and I don't think I missed out on much. Because if you just go to the touristy places where it's resorts and hotels and beaches, and
Mhm.
you know, you're gonna get all the same experiences as everywhere else. Go to the traditional places. I missed out on the opportunity of going somewhere remote, like somewhere just in the middle of nowhere that has Thai people. But I think I got enough experiences going to places that had genuine, authentic Thai culture. You know, sure, they were most of them were recommendations like the cities, but absolutely get somewhere that's authentic because authentic is
Yeah.
different and authentic will give you the best experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I always try to break away, especially there are times where I'm with a big travel group, whatnot. Like you're with plenty of people from the hostel, and for me, my key thing and one thing that we've kind of discovered in Escape Your Hometown is if you pick one activity or hobby that's like uniquely close to you and go to that
Yeah.
place where that hobby is done, you'll meet so many locals there. Like for me, that's skateboarding. Wherever I travel to, I go to a skate park and like meet locals that way. And like that's kind of even if I'm a super touristy place like Bangkok, I get tap into that local culture. For other people, like another person, EK, who's in Escape Your Hometown, that's basketball. And it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see, like for you, it was probably a lot of food, honestly, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Taking the initiative to just do something that you want to do that you know this place can offer. Excellent.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's
So
one
you
thing
said
we didn't
you're going with a
really.
group, right? With your
Yeah,
traveling
yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just every country is different. Like one way that we travel hack and escape your hometown, and you know this is you can sign up for different programs, different places where you can actually they'll sometimes pay for you to travel. Like there's certain PR foundations or like newspapers that'll pay for you to travel with a group. So there's all these little tiny hacks, and you just were like, I want to get out of the country as soon as possible. And also you did it in a cost effective way, which is beautiful. Uh,
Yeah.
One thing that I'd love to touch on too is you were talking about meeting locals. How'd you find meeting other foreigners and like kind of that hostile traveler culture?
Yeah. I mean, actually, one of the best things I did, it was actually pretty scary. So I land in the airport, right? And I come out to the bus terminal.
Hmm.
I see 2 white people, and I'm like, I tried speaking English to some lady earlier, did not go so well. She didn't speak a word. And so I come up to these guys like, hey, you guys speak English? And they're like, yeah, we do. Hey, how are you? Where are you from? Met two Polish couple, 2 of them, and then just started talking to them. It was going well. We were ending up on the same bus into Bangkok. Ended up having dinner with them, and then got their contacts. Said, "Hey, let's catch up in Chiang Mai." Right? That would never happen. Like from my personal experience, that you don't do that in Sydney, Australia. Maybe I'm a little bit, introverted or not as out there as I could be, but that one experience I think greatly encapsulates every single other experience I had traveling through Thailand and meeting other travelers. The first hostel I went to, I think it was a gold mine. I think I landed on a fucking banger. It's right near Khalson Road.
Which
Yeah,
one
you're
did
gonna
you
have to
stay at?
Mind Day Hostel.
That's right. That's one of the ones I wasn't familiar with, but yeah, continue.
Yeah. So Mind Day Hostel is an Asian style hostel. The steps are like up to your knee, and you got to climb up the whole thing. And you take off your shoes at the front door and all that. It wasn't a party hostel, so that I think really word of advice: if you want to go to the party hostels to meet partiers and drinkers, go for it. For me, wasn't my style. Anywhere with an open bar, not for me. So this place
Yeah.
was perfect. Common room, I can walk down the stairs. It's comfortable meeting foreigners because then you know you're not alone. It's not all Thai people. That Thai people speak very good English. Not all of them can speak English, but surprisingly a good amount do. But that being said, you come down, you meet some foreigners. Thankfully, they learn English. This is also what I learned. Australians are a bunch of spoiled little fucks. Holy shit, we get everything. We learn English. We have good living. We have like good wages. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. So you meet a bunch of people from different countries. You get to socialize with them. Everybody's open. Everyone leaves their ego at home. So literally, I can walk down to the common room, meet some German girl. Her name was Samira. Say, hey, you want to grab some food? It's like, sure. Where? And I go, oh, I guess we'll find out. Just fucking walk around, find some lunch. Go to a restaurant you haven't been to before. Sorry, this is banging a little bit. Let me
All
fix
right.
that up if I can.
That's funny though. Like you're just like that whole spontaneous, not aesthetic, but that spontaneous spirit. It just encapsulates traveling. And you also
Yeah,
approach your trip. I'll let you continue on what you were saying before we get into the next thing. But yeah,
yeah, the
you're saying.
spontaneity, being able to
Mhm,
do stuff, the freedom to, not have a particular, for those first 4 or 5 days, time didn't exist. Like really,
mhm.
you just wake up when you feel like it. You have breakfast when you want. You go to bed after a good chat with some people that you've never seen before and you may never meet again. You get a few social medias. You meet a guy named Sergey, right? He's
All right.
31, traveling for about 15 or 16 years.
Whoa.
And he's sits down, puffs a fucking joint, and you're like, he's got like an open shirt, a little necklace thing going on, and you're like, yeah, this guy's cooked. This guy is not like on this realm. And then you start talking to him more, and then he's like, yeah, I've been traveling for this long. I make money as I go. You can see business, you can see money being transaction. And I go, yeah, okay. What else
How
do you
long
do?
has he been
Yeah, I cook
traveling?
food. He's 15 years, this guy.
Wow. That,
Yeah,
that just proves it right there. Like you can travel long term. You don't need like
yeah.
10, 20K a month. Anyway, continue. Yeah.
Exactly. So he just makes his money as he goes. First, he does food. So he's been cooking his whole life. Fucking one
Hmm.
of the best meals I had was just mango. That's it. No, nothing special. Frozen
Not
mango.
mango sticky rice.
We can touch on that later. He put mango in the freezer, took it
Hmm.
out. It was like not frozen, frozen. It was soft enough to become a sorbet. Oh my
Hmm.
God. I fell in love with mango in Thailand. Let me tell
Yeah.
you, I love mango now. Didn't really touch it before, but now it's excellent. So he does food, right? He went to some other country, maybe Belgium or something. He was walking around and people were like, "Hey, do you know any vegan restaurants nearby? I'm trying to find one." And he's like, "Nah, not really. I'll just start one." So he just starts cooking his own vegan food, starts selling it on the street and making money from that, and that lasts him for however long. The other thing he did was healing. He
Hmm.
was a spiritual guy. He could see the wavelengths of the universe and feel the energy coming around and see all of these weird things. And at first I thought he was fucking bullshit. I thought it was crazy. And he's like super he didn't want to get a Thai massage because he's sensitive to touch. He can like
Hmm.
feel the energy people are giving him, and it gives like if it's negative, then it ruins him. Um, and like you shake his like I shook his hand, and afterwards I'm like, oh, he was reading me in that moment. Like he was downloading all of my information in that one touch. But he was like, the more he talked about it, he was so charismatic and confident that I believed it. Like Do I
Hmm.
really believe in all that spiritual stuff? It's difficult for me to get my head around it because he was explaining a lot of higher knowledge stuff. But in that moment, I he said he made an antidote to dengue fever. He just fucking whips up something and gives you a cure. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, he was so bizarre. And he had good social skills. He made plenty of eye contact. He knew how to hold a conversation. The thing that stunned me the most, this is my phone. It's hooked up to a charger at the moment.
All
It's
right.
sitting on the table. Normally, if you want to, just tap the screen. What time is it? 9:23. You can see that. So it's sitting on the table. You can press the buttons on the side for it. So he recognizes that my phone's on the table and he starts coming up to it and doing this. And eventually, ah, 9:23. He finds the button. I don't
Yeah.
think this
Wow.
guy had a phone.
Really?
Literally,
He's been traveling
I,
15 years.
I don't know if he like to take that long. Okay, Talon, do you know who Mr. Beast is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How many people do you think know who Mr. Beast is?
Like, however many subscribers times five. Like, he's the biggest YouTuber out there. Like, if you're
Right.
on YouTube, you know who Mr. Beast is. You might not watch, but you've heard the name.
Okay, cool. I say Mr. Beast to this guy, and he's nothing. I say
Hmm.
so anytime I mention social media or anything online, I keep it to a minimum because I can tell this
Hmm.
guy is not responding. There's no lights back there when it comes to social media. I think this guy is completely disconnected. And then he
Wow.
left at 5 a.m. the next morning and just went off. Yeah.
Wow. That's
So when
crazy.
you go traveling to Thailand and you meet a guy named Sergey, he's white, he's like Italian and a few other cultures, tell him I said hi, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you'll see him around. He's probably in some other country by now, but yeah, he's just one example of the types of people you can meet when you just get out. Because that's the thing about Sydney, Australia at the moment. I live in a
Hmm.
country that's got way too much landmass for the population that it has. I only go 3 or 4 places in a whole week: work,
Hmm.
home, gym, shops, right?
Yeah.
When you actually go somewhere else, you meet so many more interesting, dynamic strangers. Some of them you make friends, some of them you don't, but you just meet more people. And that was so eye-opening for me as an experience. And even then, he said that he's met 50, 60-year-olds that have been traveling forever, and he has his Sergeys. He has his
Yeah.
people that
Wow.
he's like, wow, this guy's insane. He's been doing all this and he made money doing this. He's got stories.
Hmm.
Um,
That's pretty
yeah, I'll
crazy to
leave it
hear
at
about.
that for now.
For now, we might do part two, an episode all
Yeah, part
dedicated to
two of
Sergey.
Sergey. I'll see if I can. I'll go on another travel to Thailand. I'll try and find him. I'll document the whole thing, bring him back, get him for a podcast or something. I don't know. Might have to show him how to
Yeah,
use
that'd
a
be sick.
microphone, but whatever.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about meeting people, especially meeting wild, weird, crazy people. What
Yeah.
about the inverse of that? How'd you feel? You were solo traveling the whole time.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
might have experienced loneliness at some point. What was that like?
Yeah, so I will say traveling alone gives you a lot of liberty. You have complete freedom to go wherever, whenever you want. You don't need to be
Hmm.
liable for anyone else. You don't need to work to anyone's schedule. You just go. It's phenomenal, fantastic. And you meet other
Yeah.
people, you collaborate, you meet up, you make plans. But there are parts where it gets kind of tiring. uh, fourth, fifth, sixth hostel, you start running through a routine. So you go, you meet, hey, how are you? You introduce yourself, you meet new people, don't know if they're going to be consistent. And then you go to the next hostel, right? Refresh, new people, new conversations. Traveling alone can kind of sap your social strength because there
Hmm.
are periods where you might not have anything to do. I was in Chiang Mai for about 3 or 4 days. The hostel, the owner, fantastic. The amount of people I met, not as many. There were points where I was literally sitting there like, man, what do I do with myself? Like, I've already eaten today. I'm not going to go spend more on food. And besides that, it's like, I took a cooking class just to fill the time. So
Hmm.
it really, that's the other thing traveling will do is really reevaluate your values. You know, I come back to Australia and I'm like, man, my friends are really important. Like the connections I have, and they even Talon here, hit me up. Hey, how you going? How's Thailand? Like
Yeah.
value that I place on that now is like 10x, right?
Hmm.
I'd say I'm pretty comfortable being alone. I've gotten used to it, I guess, if that's how you want to put it. But absolutely making proper long-term connections, so important. So important for your health, your ability to do stuff. So, it's give and take traveling alone. A lot of people will think safety is a big issue. You won't find many female solo travelers. I met a few, but definitely it's give and take. It depends on what you want to do. For me personally, I thought it was good because it just meant I didn't have anything tying me down to Australia, previous histories, habits, you know.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I know you went with a group. Have you
Yeah.
experienced similar things with traveling solo?
Yeah. So, I mean, my first big travel experience was I went with two of my friends, and then at a certain point, they were like, "Hey, we're going to one country." It was in backpacking Europe, and I was like, "Hey, I really want to go to this other country." I wanted to go to visit another one of our friends who lived over there, but so that's kind of how I travel. I travel to meet old long-term friends, and
Yeah.
therefore I negate loneliness. I also get a free place to stay. They show me all the local spots. But there have been times, especially my time in Thailand, I didn't know anyone there, and I had just gotten done with a big group travel thing. So, first off, my social battery was like when I first started that group travel, I was like talking to everyone, like the life of the party, basically.
Yeah.
Then after that, my social battery was completely depleted, and I went to Thailand. You know, Will. Will's one of my best friends, so we both went together, and he was still like kind of talking to people, whatnot. And I was like, I just want to like be silent and like not talk to
Like
anyone
shut
right
down
now.
for a bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's how I felt. And it was really good just to recharge my batteries to go back to go into the next country guns blazing. But even right now, I'm in more of a solitude mode. I'm out here. I'm completing my farm work for my Australian visa. We'll talk about it another time for people who
Sure,
don't know
sure.
what that is. But even right now, I'm kind of just taking it as a time to step back, read some books, get to know myself a little bit more. And there's always a fine balance because especially when you're traveling, you're trying to meet as many people as possible. What's really good though is staying in contact with those people, and it seems like you're already doing that a little bit. Like one thing, if you meet someone backpacking, what I do is in a hostel, you meet them, and you're both like, "Hey, what city should we go to next?" If you're doing something like Thailand, where it's a lot of high paced movement, you go to that next city, you book the hostel together, and then you kind of develop a relationship. Like I had this really good relationship with this German girl that I had met, and also a Russian girl, where we kind of like met each other each day and we're like, hey, like, what should we do today? And then we even
Mm.
stay in contact through Instagram. That's just like the beautiful power of social media nowadays. And
That's
now,
how it should
whenever I
be.
go to Germany, I have a person to hit up being like, hey, like, let's catch up. It's been a couple of years. And
Exactly.
what I found is people, especially people who are avid travelers, are more than happy to help. Like even my own place, when someone's coming to Australia, since I now have my own space here, my own house, and I have air mattress, I have an extra bed, I can say, hey, if you want a place for a couple of days or even a couple of weeks, feel free to stay at mine. We'll catch up, we'll make food, you get a free place to stay. And that's just beautiful when you open up yourself to a global network. Even if you join networking groups, like Escape Your Hometown has this huge community where if you're in one country and someone else is there, like you ever go over to the States, there's someone who's bound to be like, hey, come to this random state of Oklahoma. I'll house you. I'll show you a good time here. We'll ride some dirt bikes. You get the authentic American experience, you know? And that's just, I've met people up in person where I've just met them in some group chat. We meet in public, go to a cafe, and like, first off, we met online. So we already have stuff to talk about since we've done Zoom calls and such, or like Instagram, FaceTime. and then it's just like immediate in-person connection, which is great.
Mm.
So yeah, the next thing that I'd love to talk about, which you actually got more experience than I have in Thai, is how was it with the whole language thing? You already talked about you were seeing completely different characters. Did you learn any of the language? Did you attempt to? How was it communicating English with people?
Yeah, so I would actually argue that Thailand might be one of the best places to learn a first language. I've never learned a language before. I did a little bit in school, but that doesn't really count. I didn't apply it anywhere.
And you
So I
learned
was like, all right,
English.
yeah, I did learn English.
So it'd be a
Besides that,
second
I've been
language.
applying that my whole life. Yeah. Um, so I come to Thailand, I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll try learning a new language. I had grabbed a book, library book that showed me some of the characters. There's 44 consonants and 26 vowels. You got to remember. Uh, and then so I land, and yeah, I guess what should I start with? First of all, Thai is a tonal language, which
Mhm,
means similar to Mandarin Cantonese, depending on whether you raise your voice or lower it, can mean something completely different. For example, ma is come, like come to me,
mhm,
and ma is dog. So if you mispronounce certain words, you might be in a bit of trouble. But if you just say like generic phrases, you'll be fine. Thailand, the reason Thailand's so great for learning a language, first of all, everybody speaks English. So it's like
Yeah.
if you struggle, if you really can't fathom a sentence, usually they can just switch and you'll be fine. Not only that, but it helps with learning particular words, like saying, "Hey, how do I say this in Thai?" And they just repeat it back to you. Secondly, Thai people are so nice. The reason that you need to learn Thai, it's actually very few. The economy is not fantastic, so there's no business reasons to learn it. And
Mhm,
secondly, everybody's already speaking English, so many people don't put in the effort to learn Thai. So when you say, most people will expect you to say "Sawadee krap," which is like hello. But as soon as you
mhm.
say "Sawadee mai," which is like how are you, fucking teeth, smiles, grins.
Wow.
All every single person that I've mentioned it to, they always reply and they become super relaxed, super happy about it. So appreciative that you are putting effort into learning the language. You come to Australia and you speak English, bro, that's expected. Like if you can't speak English, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Like that's such an white Australian perspective to be like so unappreciative of other people coming and learning English. Like for us, it's like I said, an expectation. Like you're almost demanded to learn it. So
Mhm.
seeing that flip side, I appreciate people trying to learn English so much now. Thank you for learning the language so you can communicate with us. So those are the main reasons Thai is fantastic. Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
managed to learn enough to get through ordering food. I
Mhm.
learned 1 to 10. You learn a little bit about money, mainly transactional things. Um,
This is
it was
crazy that you
only
did it all in like 20 something days too. That's
24
insane.
days. Yeah. People were quite surprised with how quickly I learned. Thankfully, I had a book which learned, basic phrases and some
Mhm,
sounds. Most of my learning actually came at the end. So if you're learning a language, first question to learn is what is this? Niarai
mhm,
for Thai. You point at something, you say Niarai, Putta Yangai, which is like how speak Thai, and you've already got the entire dictionary open now. So then
mhm,
once you do that, you can start putting it into other phrases like I want this or how much is this? Like Niarai Taurai, like what is this? How much? The kibat, how much
mhm,
money? Um, and don't be afraid. You just get out there, you start talking. First thing I said was Sawadee krap, and then somebody responds, Sawadee ka. There was a female, there's male and female words.
mhm.
And then as soon as I say kapung krap, which is thank you, and they respond, it was a 50 baht pad thai that I was ordering. But that first interaction just instantly gave me a hit of dopamine, and it was like, oh, I get it now. Like learning languages is fun, you know?
Yeah.
And start talking to vendors, start talking to more people. It's a very slow process, but you just slowly collect more words. And because they love you so much, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you try to speak Thai? Yeah. and then you start talking to the ladies. That's a whole thing.
I never I learned whenever I go to country, I try to learn thank you, how much, and hi.
Hmm.
Thailand, I wasn't in for super long. I was in longer than you were, a month, but like even still, it wasn't one of my priorities.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you got so much from it, especially for the short time that you were there. I would say it isn't necessary at all to learn Thai there. I mean, obviously now if I go back, I'm going to try because your experience sounds so much fun. But
It is. Yeah.
would you say it's necessary to learn Thai? Because I survived off English just fine.
Yeah, I mean, Thailand is such an English-friendly country. You absolutely do not need to learn a
Hmm.
single. But I think
Yeah.
for learning, like just activating that part of your brain that never gets exercised, I think it was fantastic to try it just even a little bit. You don't need to learn even how to write. Thankfully, I did, and it helped me with like texting and that. Most of it was Google Translate, but yeah, I
Hmm.
think it was. I'm probably going to do that for every country that I go to now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's inspiring. I'm not that. So you were mentioning how communication between you and Thai people wasn't that big of an issue. What about dating over there? How was that like?
Let me tell you, maybe this is an ethnicity thing, but if you're a white man and you open Tinder in Thailand, you will have 99 plus in 3 days. 99 plus in 3 days.
Wow.
Unheard of. Come to Australia, it's going to take you decades to get that much. I was shocked. I at the limitless possibilities that I had. Like literally. Also, I was learning Thai. You put a little bit of Thai text in your title. I say, "Hey, hello, I'm learning Thai."
Whoa.
Done
That's
deal.
a move.
Done
That's
deal.
actually a move.
Yeah.
I
So thankfully, because so many of them learn English, even if I can't speak that good of Thai, half of them are decent enough at English to communicate. Yeah, let me tell you, that was probably half, maybe like one half to one third of my social life was just going out on dates with Thai girls. Yeah.
really.
Yeah. So you meet up with them, they're so flexible and open to just hanging out. I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
Like, I just say, hey, show me your favorite restaurant. And they're like, sure, all right, come over. It's like, okay, cool. That was quick. Oh,
Yeah.
didn't happen that fast. And then, you know, you get to learn a bit more about what it's like to actually hang out with a Thai person. You know, they're all polite and super, everything's clean. Man, the streets are so clean. They don't even have garbage. What the fuck? Since when? I don't get it.
Damn.
But you can practice a bit of Thai if you like. Um, Actually, probably the most prominent one at the end of my trip before heading back to Australia. I basically had a pseudo Thai girlfriend for like 2 days. I was back in Khao Sam
Huh.
Road, which is like probably my favorite spot in Thailand at the moment. And I'm walking
Really?
along the street. I know Talon's, every time I see new food, I'm like, Talon's probably going to try that. Talon's probably going to try that. And every time I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should. I just hear fucking Talon in the back of my head, like, fucking, why wouldn't you try it, mate? Come on, you experience. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Right.
Will's the one who's really into food. He
Yeah, I don't
loves
know.
trying weird food.
Okay, there you go. Maybe I should have had Will instead of you.
Yeah.
You're just way more passionate about like getting out there, I feel like.
Hmm.
Um, so I walk past, I see coconut water, like the thing where they chop it open with the machete and then crack it open and you drink from it straight. I'm like, all right, I haven't tried that before. I'll
Hmm.
give it a go. Crack it, it's $50, nice. Starts raining. I get invited onto the shelter. They put out a little stool for me. And I just start talking to the receptionist, cashier, business lady
Hmm.
in whatever broken tie I can, like, hey, you look good. Like, couldn't
Oh my
say.
gosh.
And hey, I mean, look, to be real, most of it was just Google Translate. We just like type back
Hmm.
and forth. But like, we hang out, we take it private and meet up the next day again. And like her dad's there, and I'm just chatting to them as best as I can. And yeah, and
Smooth.
I had that. Went back to Australia.
Still in contact, I guess.
Yeah,
I thought that's why you were
I'll,
checking your phone. I was like, whoa.
I'll
You know,
find it. I'll find it for you.
while you're finding it, I'll just give a little. I haven't told you this one. I was uh like I went on a couple of dates with this one chick in Israel, and it was like her English. We could speak in person, but like typing, she just couldn't do it. And like I
Hmm.
would always get my friend who I was living with. She was fluent. She's American, but she's very fluent in Hebrew. She or like her parents are from Israel and whatnot. So she would text this girl for me in Hebrew.
Translate for you.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, like I want to say blah blah blah. And you're like, I got you. And then she's like, I changed a few words in there just because, like, like if you if you're a woman, you know what women want. So I was like, oh, like thank you.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
no.
Having a translator is excellent.
Hmm.
So on the day that I fly back, she puts up a little post of an airplane, and in Thai it
Aw,
says, "See you again, popkan mai."
dang.
And I was like, "Oh my God. Oh, bless her. If I ever go back to Thailand, I know who I'm seeing." So yeah, learning a little bit. It's like honestly, bro. I mean, being a little bit fit and muscular helps, but like I
Yeah,
said,
with
if
looks like
you're
yours.
yeah, just change your environment. What's that analogy where they're like, you know, a plastic bowl is useless in a supermarket, but it's like everything to the farmer. You know, you change where you are suddenly. I forget. It's like
Yeah,
the
I've
whole
never
thing.
heard of that, but
It's not the plastic bowl, but it's basically like you change your environment and you change your value. I think they use a water bottle as an analogy, where it's like $5 in the supermarket, but it's like 0 cents to make. I can't
mhm.
remember. Anyway, change your location and your value changes, right? I rock up, white boy in Thailand, foreigner. I can speak a little bit of Thai. Whoa, everybody wants me. So that was such a insane experience
Wow.
to have much, I guess, to be desirable. I don't know, however you want to put it. Yeah. So
Mhm.
if you go to another country and you really want to interact with the women, just learn a little bit of the language. Learn a little bit. A little bit will go a long way.
That's
That's probably
great.
all.
Yeah. Um, now fun stories kind of aside. I mean, if you want to include fun story in this, feel free. But
Yeah.
what do you say was the biggest block from you taking this trip before you left, and like why haven't you taken a trip like this before?
I just
You
didn't
had
think
so
it'd
much
be.
fun that like
Yeah. I don't think it'd be this easy. Like I know there's like visas and stuff, but if you're just traveling, Australian privilege again. We have
mhm,
so much accessibility to other countries to we can just visit for free for like 30 days, 45 days, sometimes even 60 for the really affiliated countries. Um, money is not depends where you're going, but like even just going one country over, it's more difficult for Australia because besides New Zealand, you don't really have much in terms of neighbors. You
mhm.
go one country over for $300 and you are in a completely different world. So originally it was just my personal perceptions about like danger, finance, and
Mhm.
accessibility. Those things, as soon as Talon started talking to me, as soon as I started getting into escape your hometown stuff, see,
Yeah.
I'm traveling now. Hey, bye bye.
So going off of that a little bit,
Yeah.
if you had to speak to someone similar to yourself before this trip, they're watching this right now, listening in, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them if they're like, "Hey, I want to do a trip similar to yours in Thailand"?
Just have some intention, I guess. Like,
Mm,
make the decision yourself. It doesn't have to be other people telling you what to do. Because this is the thing about learning as well. As soon as you make the decision to do something or you take the personal initiative, you become way more invested in it. You are so much more focused. You have everything at your control. So as soon as you say, okay, I'm going to go to Thailand, there you go. That's a start. hey, start, right?
Yeah.
So you just want to, you know, get a new experience, change yourself a little bit, experience something new, take the initiative. Just say, I can, I will, you know? And it doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to go to Europe. Europe's expensive. Everybody knows that. You know, you can get a few recommendations. Go somewhere simple. If learning a whole new language isn't your style and you're afraid of it, go somewhere that speaks English. I don't know. New Zealand's just across the water. It doesn't have to be crazy, but as long as
Hmm.
you're taking the initiative to take a little bit of risk, change yourself a little bit, learn. Everyone wants to, oh, be careful of Thailand. They're going to pickpocket you. They're going to steal all your shit. I didn't see
Everyone
any of
says
that.
every country is going to pickpocket you. Every
Exactly.
single
So
country.
if you're worried about all that, hey, go and find out for yourself if it's actually that dangerous. And then if you come back, you'll have stories to tell. So it's a win-win.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's my
that's
advice,
really
I guess.
great intention. That's one thing I focus on particularly a lot is like whenever I enter a new place, book a flight, I'm thinking, what do I want to get out of this? It's
Mhm.
mostly like kind of three phases. Like, what is the problem I'm facing right now that is causing me to book this flight or take this trip? What do I want to experience during this trip? And that's like something we go super into. We've created this whole document after you've joined us, Your Home. That I'll send it to you right after this if you want. But it's
Yeah,
just like
cool.
what lifestyle, what people, what food, like we found just the more intentional you are, the more likely these things are going to happen. So like the sky's the limit.
Mm.
And then I reflect personally, and we encourage the others to do this as well, is what do you want your life to be like after this trip? You know, like how do you want this trip to have changed you? How do you want your lifestyle to change? And that leads me like right into the next question is how have you changed and what have you taken away from this epic experience?
I took a journal with me to write down and reflect on every day what I did. And then I lost it at the Bangkok bus terminal and never got it back. But it's okay. It's all in memory. I did end up recording the
Wow.
rest of it on my phone. Yeah, I was a little bit dejected. Okay, so I
I
rock up to the
if I lost
Bangkok
my
bus terminal.
journal, I would cry.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I rock up at the Bangkok bus terminal. I write in it inside the terminal. I'm sitting down, put it in my bag. Then I go up to Chiang Mai and I arrive very early, like 4 a.m. So I'm like, I don't want to go here yet. I'll go up to Pai, go even further up to Pai, get to Pai, look at my bag, it's not there. So at some point through that whole trip, I've lost it. And
Damn. How long were
I
you
go
in
back to
Thailand
all
at
the
that point?
terminals, like 2 weeks deep.
Oh wow. Dang.
Yeah. So I go there and I'm like, hey, did you see a book, 2 books? I lost my language book, so I'm gonna have to bring that to the library. Have you guys seen the books? It's like, no, sorry. I go to the Chiang Mai terminal. Hey, have you guys seen the books? No, but we'll give you an email if we find them. Okay. Last day in Thailand, I go to the Bangkok bus terminal. Hey, seen the book? I was over there. I was sitting down. I was writing on this date. I have the ticket, the bus ticket. Do you guys know? And they go, sorry, don't have the
No
books.
book.
So everything that I reflected on, like most of the things I did are just in memory. And I really had to cope with that experience and think, right, if I didn't have my journal, how much would I actually remember and how much would I take back with me? So
Hmm.
it's like beginning to almost optimize the memories that I have. Like I can remember what I did first day, second day, third day, but 2 years from now, what from that Thailand trip is going to impact what I do on that day 2 years from now? Is
Hmm.
it going to be the little necessities of where I went, what I did? I can look at the map and try and trace my own trajectory. Or is it going to be the values and the things that I learned that are still impacting me 2 years later? So, what I took away really was a reevaluation of my values, right? I was given the opportunity to reevaluate all the habits that I had, all the previous perspectives that I had, really look at myself and say, all right, what is actually important. When you walk around with just a backpack, no house, no computer, I limited my social communication with Australia. You really think, all right, what is the human experience, right? And for me, what I found is it's this, you know, it's all your senses. It's the things you can see, touch, feel, hear, taste. And when you focus on those things, and especially the people that are connected to them, then everything becomes a whole lot richer. Whole lot richer. It's
Wow.
like even money. Like I had the best meal of my life. Okay, maybe not my life, but I had the best meal in Thailand was 70 baht. It's about $3 Australian. So I sit
That's
down. It was
two
at
US dollars.
yeah, there you
Wow.
go. It was Pad CU. I come around the Bangkok bus terminal. I decide to walk. Here's the other thing: walk more. Um, I had the choice to take a taxi or walk 10 minutes, and I said, you know what? I'll walk. I go around the corner. I meet some old lady who's cooking next to a park. There's fucking birds coming into a vegetable feeder. And as soon as I sit down, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get food. I'm gonna die. This is the last meal I'm gonna enjoy because of all the shit that's going into this.
Yeah.
Anyway, she cooks it up, whips it up, and as soon as you say that you want to eat, they invite you to. Oh yeah, come sit. Yeah, it's okay. And then I eat it, and I'm like, wow, this is phenomenal. I go back,
Mhm.
I give her 100 baht, and I'm like, yeah, keep it. It's not like it's only $1 extra. Keep it. You deserve it. I say aroy mak, which means delicious very. And as
Mhm.
soon as you say that, she turns to her Thai mate. Hey, aroy mak, eh? Hey, I did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, even something as simple as that was just like, man, that's the other thing about Thailand is engaging with people. There's no business. There's no executive, manager, CEO, receptionist, restaurantee. It's just her.
Mhm.
It's just her cooking the best pad see ew of my life for 70 baht. All right. And I
Wow.
can give my compliments directly to the chef. Like
Yeah.
that was insane. So when I come back here and I see business and identity and I see all of these barriers that seem to be in the way of a simple conversation, really makes me evaluate, all right, is this really the environment that I want to live in, the one that I want to be taught in, the one that I want to learn lessons from? Or is it in an environment where you can have the best passenger of your life for 70 baht? Yeah. So I think that was probably one of the biggest things is just learning. Learning's probably the other
Mhm.
big one. I feel like ever since I finished university, I've had a stopgap in my learning. Like there's no school to
Yeah.
do that stuff. You got to go and find it for yourself. And so coming to Thailand, every day I was learning, adding something to my vocabulary. I went to a cafe in Chiang Mai every morning
Mhm.
just to talk with the Thai lady there. Arun Sawat, good morning. And then she'd come down and I don't have the pieces of paper with it. She'd grab a little notepad and just like give me a few words for each day. Like, okay, today
Oh
we're learning
wow, that's
numbers, today
so
we're
good.
learning temperature, today we're learning hello and goodbye, how much, why, what is. Um, and the other thing about learning Thai, I tried to speak a little bit. I was addicted to mango smoothies. She gets my smoothie, pours it up, hands it to me. I start drinking it. It's like halfway down. She brings over the jug with the leftover smoothie and taps it in. And I
Oh.
was like, wow, yeah, this is the human experience. Like you don't even need money. We could all just like share things. Oh, it's a bit difficult to do that, but right, it's like you really begin to realize things, and it's
Mhm.
so sometimes it's kind of like unfortunate when you come back to this and you realize not everybody has the same perspective or values. You
Mhm.
know, everything's a little different and a bit set, but
Yeah. I mean,
live and learn.
and I've been back to the US for over a year now, so it's gonna be different when I head back, but you put that first off beautifully. Like I
Thank you.
almost don't want. I just want to like end it there, just because like everything you said, like I can't put words in your
And
mouth, like,
see.
like that's just great. But yeah, like one thing that we were talking about off the air that I
Mm,
definitely am going to try to do more when I get back home, and you should try too. And I encourage anyone, even right, if, like let's say right now you're not planning on traveling, you want to, but like you have some sort of obstacle in the way. First off, like message me. I just message me on Instagram, talon.in.color. I will try to help brainstorm away. Like I just really think that people should just get out there more. But let's say for whatever reason you don't feel like doing that, if you just take this mindset of I'm going to explore where I'm at now, even though I grew up in this environment, I'm going to act like I'm a foreigner in this place and try to learn as much as possible, as well as do things I'm uncomfortable with and challenge myself. Then you can enter that same headspace. And like oftentimes we see the places that we grew up in as like, oh, it's so limiting, like nobody thinks right, like why is culture like this? It's so like, let's say what you were saying, like if there's an organization and such, but like
mm,
if you question those beliefs and say, why is that? How did we come to this point? It suddenly becomes super interesting and you see the development of a whole different culture.
exactly.
And even for me coming US to Australia, they're basically the same culture. All right. Like it's like different shop names, basically different currency, but that's it. I mean, we both still call them the dollar. So technically same
Yeah.
currency. But I just find it interesting how I can see a completely different development of a culture because it's in a different geographic location. And also, someone put it beautifully to me is Australia is what the US should have been like. Because,
Really?
like, yeah, because when the US wasn't founded, but like when Britain went over to colonize the Americas, it was like, hey, like, this is going to be an extension of Britain. That's what they did here. They just created an extension of Britain.
Uh,
And then eventually they're like,
yeah.
we don't care about it enough. Like, you can have the Union Jack on your flag, but you guys can be your own country if you want. And Australians were like, all right, cool. Like, that's what the US should have been. But the US was like, nah, like, fuck the
We
king.
want
Like, we're getting out
independence
of
and we're
here.
gonna fight for it or something, right? Freedom.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, Australia is what the US, like, honestly should have been like. Like, US should be driving on the left side of the road and whatnot. We should be having meat pies, but we don't because we separated a little bit too early.
Is that why they drive on the right? It's just because it wasn't British.
No. I don't think that. I think my history could
I
be a
mean,
little bit wrong.
we'll say it was.
Yeah. My history could be a little bit wrong, but I think it's um I think cars were invented in the US. Could be completely wrong on that. And so like Britain was the one who was like, let's do it on the left for some reason. But like that's the reason that like US we don't use meters and whatnot. It's because we're like, nah, like
Um,
fuck the
Imperial.
empirical system. We're just gonna
Yeah.
go off, do our own thing.
Yeah,
But
I mean, exactly. Just go and do your own thing. Go for a walk, really. Like,
yeah.
literally just see what's around. You'll be surprised the things you can find. Man, the amount of walks that I went on in Thailand and the amount of stuff that I found, just go for a walk.
And yeah, relating back to before, go for like I encourage everyone if it's daylight outside and things are open where you are, go for a walk and see if you can find one shop you've never been into. You don't even need to buy anything, just go in, look around. If it's a cafe, like look at what they have, maybe get something if you feel like it. But just try to explore new things. And that's the message I really want to push to people. Um, any closing thoughts on your end before we wrap this up?
Thanks for getting me to go to Thailand. I'm actually planning, I don't know where, but my goal is by the start of next year, I want to be in some other country doing something. I want to leave Australia again.
Oh, it's only October, 3 months, quick turnaround. All right, I love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be trying to pump. I'm gonna be trying to get it out.
Hmm.
Because I come back and I'm like, fuck, just kind of want to travel again. So yeah, I've got motivation now. I've got a reason to say I want to change what's going on around me. Yes, I love who I am. I accept who I am, what I am. Uh, but I kind of want to see what's around, see
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Papua New Guinea's doing. I don't know.
dude, that'd be
Something.
epic. I'll
Yeah,
I'll discuss off air, but I might have some plans and possibilities for you. Um,
sure.
do you want to leave yourself open if people want to ask you any questions where they can reach you
Yeah. At zone_astra. So I can't
on
really.
Instagram
Yeah. I can't really show. Ah,
it's ZONE_ASTRA if people are really interested.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah. And then for me, at Talon TALON.IN.color, color spelled the American way, COLOR. And
Hmm.
it's just been a pleasure having you on the show. And
Of
if you want
course.
to find out more about Escape Your Hometown, you can message either of us. Aaron's been through it. You can message me or my good pal Sean about it. Other than that, continue exploring and hope you all have an epic day.
Bye.